Alright, so here's where I'm at, which is not very great. Um, I see long time has passed. I see a lot of work still ahead of me. I see mm, taking way too much time for what it should. Um, I see a much more difficult path of trying to use Haiku Porter. I see they haven't been able to use Haiku Porter. I see when I try to run in some of these apps, the binaries are not able to find the libraries, or at least that's what the runtime loader reports back. I'm seeing some difficulties with linking, a copy of symbolic link over from the root directory to another directory, and unlike in Linux, the link will break. I see a complicated requirement to package things up in Haiku packages. And although I have numbers that look like there's a lot of stuff going on, which this is a little bit outdated, but this is from today. I'm still in my last category there. I'm at 40%. This was when I was in the middle of the numerous Perl modules in D. So I'm probably, in fact, if I just look right now, I'm probably going to see that I'm probably somewhere in the range of having 800 packages at this stage, and I'm still not done going through the development section. But the numbers don't really matter, because at the end of the day, there really only are a handful of apps that people want to use, and that's the truth of the matter. I have some unique apps here, that basically that can be built, but I really question how well things run in the first place. Apache's got a memory problem. I'm going to have to port over Xorg to be able to run Xserver apps. And even though I've been doing this almost nonstop for 3 months, and every last minute of spare time that I have, just about, if not 4 months, I still have, 7,400 packages to go, and I've been cheating. That is to say that I haven't done any patches at all for the math library. I haven't done any patches at all and to me that's a good thing. Avoiding patching things is a good thing. But there are enough. I've had to just to go over like the archives category here, or other ones. I know this is true for, I think it is true for this one. So doing a dumb pass without any kind of settings or experience or anything like that. I don't remember what the numbers were in the beginning, but it was somewhere in the range of 20 to 30% builds. Right now, the percent for this, I have to go into other categories and put as much time and care into it to get it up to something like 72%. Okay, this is a smaller category. This is 105. This is 105 out of 11,797 packages. So that's 100 goes to 1,000 10 times, and then you multiply that by 10. So I would still have to do what I've done for the archivers category another 100 times, probably, to get most of the categories to build to 70%. Just, assuming everything's going to be the same. I had to change my specs file I've had to write stopgap headers to, and of course you can say, well, you didn't have to do that, you could have changed the source code, but it would have just taken me that much longer, right? If I would have went in and changed every line of C code that was pointing to a header that was in a different directory than where we'd pathed it, that would just take me longer to do, right? Then there's the patch, the maintenance of the patch, submission of the patch, yada yada yada. So you just you add that to the whole thing. So no, I'm not crazy. So I decided I wasn't gonna change the source code for 15 apps. Rather, I was just gonna make a one-line header that pointed to where the header really was. If a package was looking for it in the other directory, it would be redirected and pointed to where the header really was. Because to me, that's what makes sense. Because computers are here to help us, not to be a pointless challenge. But even doing stuff like that, to overcome some of the more common issues that can be dealt with in an automated fashion. The build, it's still, we're only getting, get up to about 50%. And then if I really, really focus on getting some of these things ported, like I ported for Star, it's a archiver made by George Schilling, which I did plan on, first doing a test run and seeing it would build in Haiku Porter, and then, going on the mailing list or something, or try to figure out how I could submit, the recipe. I would have ended up making a recipe and set of patches or set of files or whatever you want to call it, but I can't even figure out how to get that to work. The 9E's not in the archive doesn't tell me what I need to do. But even after all that, you can see all these things that are in parentheses here are all issues I have with this group of 100 apps. And so I have 56 issues, and some of which I didn't note because I just, like if these had math libraries, they'd have a little number next to it too. This is just one category of 100. You get 71 out of 105 to build. Of course, some of these are dependent on other things, but still, even if you've resolved the dependency like PHP and Ruby or whatever, or OCaml, doesn't mean it's going to build anyway. There might be other issues that come up. And what's the main thing? There's some kind of, for some reason, when you try to compile the source code in this environment, you get an error, undefined reference, redefined reference. This has already been defined. This is not defined. This is, there's errors galore. And some of those errors got resolved just because I added another header to the code, or made a stopgap header or something like that. But it's too much. It's too much work. In general. Even to divide up between 20 people. You can get cheating the way I have. If you want to put it that way, we get 36%. So, the open source apps aren't going to come anytime soon to this platform. Is the bottom line. There's too much work, and the apps change. The code changes, the patches change, the lines change. And we've also, on top of that, we've taken some stances on the way Haiku is going to be, in which some of the projects now won't either have formed an opinion about us that we're unwilling to make our operating system more usable, or we're just we know better than to submit patches in the form that like for Haiku, the Python people, are going to have to put in if-thens for us, so it doesn't point to the user directory, right? And the hard links, there's just all these things. They add up together, and they really make building applications nothing like it is in any other environment. Hard links in the tars. Things just keep coming to mind. Symlinks that won't hold when you copy shared library links to other directories. The inability to have write access to the system. At least for me, the mystery that Haiku Porter is getting something to work. I would like to have done something, at least. I don't know if anybody else, whether it's correct or not, would want any of my code after everything I've said, but I'm being honest. And that's the bottom line. I mean, the honest truth is that we're trying to rebuild a very large collection of packages. Now, if you just you knock all the Perl packages out of there and you knock out the text packages, you still have a lot of packages to deal with. I think I was reading some snippet. We're actually going to separate. We're going to have a development and a regular package now. So on some things that package source doesn't even separate it that way. So the numbers get bigger than 11,797 that I have there tentatively. Some of the categories, the builds went fairly well with cheating, and with Perl. I think Perl is the big number out of all this stuff. I mean, I probably have about 2,000 Perl packages. Python is somewhat. It really is somewhat of a mystery. That's all I could say. I think there are issues with the system. Even today, this morning I came in. I probably would have been close to being done with the development section, but I'm not. It stopped. It just trying to do a test on memory. It just froze. So kernel panicked. Nothing moved until I came back in. So there's 6 hours down the drain. Patchy builds, but it won't run because it's got memory issues. These open source apps are not really going to come all that much. And I'm not seeing commercial vendors come either. So, and I haven't seen even community members trying to write the apps, and I really don't know how to write them myself. I'm not a programmer, so I couldn't help in that way. I just at the point where I don't think I could help, and it's just taking way too long. I've been at this for about 3, maybe 4 months, almost nonstop, outside of work. And although I've probably done some things that most other people wouldn't do to get a better idea of where things actually stand with various categories, and I still haven't even looked at all the data yet. But and then running X11's a mystery, and then when I try to run even the old X11, there's a lot of apps that don't seem to be able to find libraries that they were linked to when they were built with them. I even got a pre-built copy of X11, and it still just doesn't load, and Xorg needs to be ported. There's absolutely no patches out there for it. Sometimes I'm just down to the point where I just have to, okay, I guess I'll delete these lines because I don't know what this code means. In some cases, I'm also getting strange error messages with zlib when it tries to open up graphically using, so we have We do have a Qt port, but at the end of the day, it's just a truncated system that is also, you know, a viable environment and interface to work with in general, as long as it doesn't crash or the terminal doesn't burn out. But I think we've really overcomplicated things way too much. I've talked about a lot of these things in the past, and there's just, it's a lot of work for a very, if you ask me, well, I'm going to say it. Right now, I don't even know if I'm going to build anything of any significance that anybody wants to use that's a graphic user interface out of any of these open source apps. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not even sure if I'm going to ever figure out how to get even an X11 app to run in here. There are certain clues out there, but when I do, when I follow the basic instructions that are out there, it doesn't work. At least not here. Now, libraries are not being found, and to my mind, it's absolutely no coincidence that people stopped building apps around 2011 that people want to use. This includes DOS-EMU, this includes maybe the Commodore emulator, this includes games, this includes, Firefox of a recent version, not Firefox 2000. I will place the blame on our choices that we've decided not to make a symlink for the math library. That we've decided to keep the network library separate. That we haven't done anything that works something like package config to get that to work like the pthreads does. Math library specifically. And there's other libraries that I just can't think of right now. The system locks up. It's slow. It happens a lot. Multimedia really isn't that reliable. When the work starts getting intense, everything just seems to break down. And there's no networking. So it feels very isolated. Even the web browser, you can't even... I have a very fast internet connection. No issues with it in any other real issues in the other virtual environments that I'm running. At least enough to stop me from being able to simply log into Google and check my email without having to go to the old HTML interface. The problems are so numerous that, and then just the icing on the cake, the straw that breaks the camel's back is just, to my mind, seems to be the attitude of the developers. Is that, yes, they want everything to be perfect and they have their own mindset and what that perfect route is, but they don't see how it fits in with everything else. And it's kind of unfortunate where they've made a choice that they might think that we need to hold the line on the user directory, and you know what? Maybe it's not that big of a deal. Okay, but there's some things, like when we decide to re-implement some of the more annoying things about the B operating system, including the lack of hard links. When we've actually made the effort to liberate the code from the hands of corporate entities and put it in our own hands, and now that we're not fixing it, it doesn't make any sense to me. The system is so locked down, and then there's this the libraries aren't loading. Then I'll be talking, something else coming to mind, I'll forget. Then the VirtualBox guest editions. If you use it, you lose your integration on the desktop. There's just so many issues that are out there, and we need all the help we can get to get this thing better. And even though the people are very skilled and very smart that have made this, there still are issues. We're not robots, we all are human beings, and we're trying our best. And of course, I don't expect it to be perfect, but the practical, I'm talking about the practical reality of the situation is that because we're limited, we got to give ourselves more leeway. We can't be making packaging. There's no reason for a package manager to make the whole. There are implications for not having write access to major portions of your own system. Administrators need that. There are reasons. I mean, just WordPerfect comes to mind. People need to make symlinks to the old libraries to get that working. And there's always a reason that comes up eventually. An administrator to get something to work needs write access to his own system. And there was no reason to make. I don't see any good reason for a package manager to deny right, but still, and then when these issues are brought up, it's just like, no, we're not doing it. We're going to do it this way because this is what we've decided before, or we're told, the end users are told, or the developers are told in terms of, well, it's not impossible. Well, yeah, it's not impossible. I could sit here, keep going on this 12,000. I could probably in a year build everything, But eventually, it's not impossible, but I have a life to live. I have other things I have to do with my life. So it's just kind of the way it is. So the whole idea is that, when your developers and your end users are saying they want stuff, you should give it to them. And not just because they at that point, they're feeling like, well, it's already too difficult as it is, and we've asked for relief, and they're not going to give it to us. So I'm not doing this anymore. People walk away. Some people never come. Some people silently just disappear. Well, what happened to that guy? He was making a bunch of apps. He's suddenly gone. What happened? He seemed to understand how the packager works. Well, yeah, he might have, but it's going to take him twice as long to get apps out to people. The apps that want to use, I appreciated the apps that the guy made. Then everybody suffers. This isn't going to make the operating system better if it ends up suffocating under its own weight of restriction. That's what I see is happening right now. And I see that as very unfortunate. I really wanted to see this go somewhere. Even though, quite frankly, I don't need Haiku to succeed. I'll be fine with Linux and NetBSD. In fact, I probably still would favor them if they are working fine. I'm doing this because I want people to have other choices. If there's a group of people that like this kind of environment best, then I don't see why I shouldn't at least try to help them get there. The other thing is, I'm being honest. Now, if that bothers people, I'm sorry, but to me, this is what I believe. I've always said what I believed. Some of these things may have turned out to be incorrect, like, when I believed that the hard links were causing the PYOs and PYCs to not build, that was incorrect. And when I thought the user directory was the difference between an easy build and a hard build for Python, that wasn't true. So, I've had some things that I've gotten wrong. But at least I try to speak up, and I think more people need to speak up, and just keep speaking up, especially if this is an environment you want to use. To me, I'm going to just finish this develop build, and I'm not going to try to port anything else. I'm done. I'm just going to stuff this away, this virtual hard disk, on some archive, and come back to it maybe in a while. It'll be a memory, but this is it. I just spent way too much time on this. It's going nowhere. The next parts that I would be doing would be very formidable. I'm now at a point where I have to um, patch a bunch of higher level dependencies, and I think there still are additional higher level dependencies that are going to come up after these. And it's just going to be one after the other after the other. So the numbers are going to end up looking probably somewhere in the area of 40% for someone that doesn't really, but what that really amounts to in practical terms is a very, very souped up, I don't want to say very souped up, but a somewhat souped up terminal style and somewhat broken terminal style Unix system, but nothing graphical that anybody really wants to use. In this day and age, just the old the old Unix hackers might like some of the things I built, but that's it. So I think I just got to cut it here. I mean, I'm almost not seeing the point as to living amongst life and still feeling like I'm isolated because I'm not saying things that people want to hear. And but it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anybody believes. What matters is how well the operating system works at the end of the day and whether people are using it. And we're not there. Just not there. And we've turned away a lot of people. And I think that's unfortunate. And quite frankly, I've lost faith in the current group's decision-making ability to take this in the right direction. I really honestly think someone needs to take an older version of this and go with it and maintain it and take it somewhere. But I don't know if there's anybody that has the skills that really wants to do that. That's all I have to say. I'm probably not going to be trying to do anything anytime soon. And whatever. So I've actually tried to step out of my own community and try to help out a different community. But I think people seem to be stubbornly determined and happy with the lack of progress that they're having. I'll end it with that.